Imagine walking into a 1960s classroom, the polished wooden floor gleaming under the harsh daylight streaming through tall windows. Rows of children sit stiffly in their uniforms, knees together, hands folded neatly on desks. There's a quiet tension in the air, broken only by the sharp tap of a ruler on the edge of a desk, a sound that makes even the bravest child sit a little straighter. Teachers move with deliberate authority, eyes scanning the room, ready to correct the smallest lapse in posture or attention. Every movement is measured, every whisper stifled. Children know the rules and the consequences, yet there's a strange sense of pride in keeping them. Would you have survived a school day like this, back when order was everything and laughter had to be earned quietly during breaks? That's the world we step into today. Strict, disciplined, and surprisingly formative in ways we often forget. In post-war Britain, schools were a place where order wasn't just expected, it was demanded. The nation was still recovering from years of upheaval, and there was a strong belief that children needed structure to grow into responsible citizens. Classrooms were rigidly arranged, desks in perfect rows, the teacher's desk commanding the room at the front like a small podium of authority. Daily routines were precise. Morning registration, lessons punctuated by the shrill ring of the bell, and strict intervals for playtime that felt more like a carefully timed pause than freedom. Uniforms were starched and neat, every collar crisp, every tie straightened, the scent of freshly polished shoes mingling with the chalk dust in the air. Teachers had an unmistakable presence, moving around the room with measured steps, eyes alert to the slightest whisper or inattentive glance. Some practices might seem startling now. Pupils were expected to stand when speaking, correct posture was enforced relentlessly, and minor infractions could result in instant correction. Yet at the time, these rules were seen as essential for maintaining discipline and respect. Looking back now, it feels almost unbelievable how universally accepted these methods were, a stark contrast to today's classrooms, where encouragement and personal development often take precedence over rigid control. And it was within this world of order and expectation that children learned, played, and sometimes quietly rebelled, a world that shaped the heart of everyday school life in the 1960s. Step into the shoes of a child in a 1960s British classroom, and the first thing you notice is the strict rhythm of the day. Pupils would line up quietly outside the classroom before the bell, their hands by their sides, uniforms perfectly neat. One slip, a crooked tie, untucked shirt, or wandering gaze, and you might be summoned to stand at the front while the teacher corrected your posture. It was a world where small mistakes felt magnified, and children quickly learned that attentiveness was not optional. For many, these routines were daunting at first. Some remember the sheer anxiety of walking into the assembly hall, the echo of the headmaster's footsteps on the polished floor filling the room with a sense of immediate seriousness. Yet beneath this strict surface, children discovered resilience and camaraderie. Extra chores were a common consequence, tidying the classroom, cleaning the blackboard, or carrying books for the teacher. What seems harsh today was, back then, a lesson in responsibility and also a shared experience that bonded classmates together. One pupil recalled standing with a fellow friend in the corridor for an entire lesson as punishment, whispering jokes to each other quietly, learning to find comfort in companionship even when rules loomed large. These small acts of rebellion, entirely harmless, became a source of secret pride. Another hallmark of the era was rote discipline, repetition, drills, and standing for answers. Children often performed oral arithmetic or spelling aloud, while the entire class observed mistakes were corrected immediately, sometimes with a tap of a ruler on the desk or a stern admonishment. While it might seem intimidating, many later reflected that these experiences built confidence and quick thinking, teaching them to face challenges without panic. Today, children are guided through errors with patience, encouragement, and gentle correction, a contrast that highlights both the rigidity of the past and the evolution of educational philosophies. Interestingly, not all lessons were about fear. School trips, sports days, and shared lunchtimes offered pockets of freedom and laughter, often remembered more vividly than the strict discipline itself. Children learned to navigate rules and authority while finding joy in small liberties. A carefully timed game of hopscotch, a whispered secret in the back row, the thrill of a perfectly executed trick on the playground. These moments created lasting bonds, demonstrating that even within rigid systems, human warmth and ingenuity flourished. By the end of the day, children carried a mix of exhaustion and quiet pride. The strictness may have been bewildering, even intimidating, but it instilled resilience, patience, and a sense of accomplishment that many remember fondly. Looking back now, it's clear that the 1960s classroom, with all its rules and rituals, was more than just a place of discipline. It was a formative world where friendships were forged, personal courage was tested, and everyday victories, however small, were celebrated. And as we reflect on these stories, it's impossible not to wonder, how did this balance of fear and friendship shape an entire generation? And what does it tell us about the children who grew up under such exacting expectations? Amid the strict lines and constant reminders, there were countless small moments where childhood quietly shone through. Friendships were forged in whispers across desks, in shared secrets while standing in the corridor, or in the careful passing of a folded note during lessons. Each minor triumph, answering a question correctly, finishing a task on time, or surviving an unexpected reprimand, felt monumental. There was an unspoken courage in every child who faced the day with a mixture of fear and determination, learning to navigate a world that demanded respect, composure, and attentiveness. These experiences shaped personalities in subtle but lasting ways. Many grew up with a sense of resilience, understanding the value of patience, discipline, and mutual support. Even the smallest gestures of kindness or humor became treasured, creating memories that endured decades later. When we look back now, the rigidity might seem excessive, almost shocking, yet it also created spaces for triumph, solidarity, and personal growth. Perhaps most striking is the way these memories connect us to our own childhoods. We recall the friends who stood by us, the little victories that felt enormous, and the lessons learned not just from teachers, but from one another, lessons of courage, loyalty, and the enduring spirit of childhood in a world of strict rules. Today's classrooms feel almost unrecognizable compared to the 1960s. Teachers now guide with encouragement rather than strict correction, and learning is shaped by curiosity and collaboration instead of rigid routines. Yet the lessons of resilience, patience, and quiet courage from that earlier era still echo in those who grew up under such exacting rules. There is pride in remembering how children navigated a world of order and expectation, finding moments of laughter, friendship, and triumph along the way. Looking back, we can marvel at the changes in education, while cherishing the enduring spirit of those who experienced it firsthand.